family, welcome again to another episode of Winnie School of Elegance. Today we have a very special and interesting episode for you all, and I have a guest in the house. Before I give her time to introduce herself, I'd like to introduce the episode. Today we're going to be talking to you all about the importance of having a rich vocabulary, tips on how you can improve your vocabulary, and then we'd also give you some words that you can add to your word bank so that you can be on your way to speaking eloquently and very elegantly. Derry is my guest on the set today, and I'll just allow her to introduce herself by herself.
Hi, Winnie.
Hi, Derry.
It's such a pleasure to be here.
Same.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ademisola Adeyemi of Diction with Derry. I'm a diction instructor. I'm a content creator and voiceover artist.
You guys now see the reason why it was important for me to bring her on set today. I met Derry about 2 years ago at an event, and when she shared her page with me and I went through her content, I was quite impressed with what she was doing. Pretty much the first thing that caught my attention was how she was literally showing people the right ways to pronounce words. Like, you guys, I thought that I could pronounce things correctly, but this lady schooled me with her content. And then, like she also said, she also teaches people how to speak eloquently.
Eloquently, yeah.
And I believe that as elegant people, it's very important that we pay attention to how we pronounce things that we pronounce, and then how we speak. And that was why I thought that this episode was very important for us. And it was important to have her come on set today. So we're just going to dive into the conversation. This episode is going to be very conversational. It's not going to be me just talking in your faces. Derry is also going to be speaking with us. So Derry, first things first, I think that we would like to know, what is a vocabulary, or what is vocabulary?
Okay. So basically, vocabulary is...
She just schooled me there. I said vocabulary. She said vocabulary.
Oh my God.
Here we go, guys. Here we go. Okay.
So we're discussing vocabulary development today, and it's basically the process of acquiring new words, learning new words. So it's like you have a bank, a word bank that you can withdraw from whenever there's a need for it. So it's not, you've probably heard people say, oh, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. When you have a rich vocabulary, you're good to go. You won't have that challenge. Yeah. So
pretty much what you're trying to say is that when you have a rich vocabulary, you are able to express yourself
succinctly, like precisely. You know what you want to say and you're saying it.
And I think that that's actually quite important for us as elegant people. And this has actually really helped me on my elegance journey, because having a rich vocabulary literally helps me express myself articulately and ensure that I'm communicating not just with myself, but I'm able to communicate to the other person and have them understand what I'm saying. And that's why it's important that we elegant people have a very rich vocabulary.
Absolutely.
Before we came on set, we're talking about like vocabulary development and how like it's a very vague, it's quite wide. So there's the aspect of developing a rich vocabulary, like having a rich word bank. And then there's also the part of pronouncing things correctly.
Words correctly,
So that's where eloquent speaking now comes into play.
Yes, it's a broad spectrum, and then you have vocabulary development, and then you have elocution.
Okay.
Yes, which involves clarity, or which is basically defined as clarity of speech. So most of the time when people hear elocution, they think that you mean Noah Hallard and all of that. They think that you mean you just have to continue to slur your words and Americanize your words and all. Nah, that is absolutely not what it is.
Okay.
Elocution is speaking clearly, clearly and distinctly, so much so that the other person can understand what it is that you're saying, regardless of the person's nationality. So you know how that it is only Nigerians that understand each other. It is only the average Nigerian that says, for instance, I am coming. We understand when I tell you, Winnie, I'm coming.
I understand what
you understand what that means, right? But when you tell some other person from another country, the person might
not get you.
You're on your seat, and then you say
you're coming. That's actually wrong English. That's actually wrong use of English.
Exactly. So it's not supposed to be. So it's called social intelligibility.
Wow. Girl.
ability.
But I totally get you though.
Yeah, the ability to speak in any part of the world and be understood. Yes. So you're not speaking to British people or Americans and then they're like,
what are you saying?
Exactly.
And this is for people saying, oh, we have a certain way we speak in Nigeria. There's something called Nigerian English. No one is saying to you to change your Nigerian accent. We're only saying change the way you pronounce certain words.
Yes.
So that, especially if you want to reach a global audience.
Thank you very much.
And with the way the world is becoming smaller and smaller through invention of things like social media, it's important that you know how to communicate in such a way that anyone from any part of the world can understand what
with
you're
your
saying.
content. Yes.
Just saying that if you must speak English, learn to speak English correctly, or learn to pronounce
your
English words correctly.
Yes, so that you can pass the right message across per time.
So with that being said, I think the next thing I'm going to ask you is, what do you think is the importance of having a very rich vocabulary as an elegant person, or just as a person, whether you are elegant or not?
Okay, so the first reason I would say is it makes you a compelling speaker. It makes you somebody that people want to listen to. It makes you, so you're not boring, you're not monotonous, you're not just blah, you're not basic. So people listen to you and they're like, so it literally gives you this intriguing, or gives your audience this intriguing effect. Yeah, like it keeps them at the edge of their seats whenever they are listening to you. Like, it makes you a captivating speaker. And it also, it in turn affects your persuasion. So maybe you're at work and you're trying to convince your boss, but then imagine that you don't even have the right words to say. Yeah, you're trying to convince your boss as to why you need that promotion or why you're qualified for that promotion at that time, but then you can't even communicate what it is you want to say.
Even when you're communicating at home with your children.
Thank you.
In fact, it's actually even a learning curve for your kids as well. So I think that there's so many ways that it helps you, just also helps you build your confidence.
Absolutely.
You are able to speak articulately, effectively.
On any stage, really.
Regardless
you
of
can
who you're
hold a
talking
conversation.
to.
Yes. It gives you that ability to hold a conversation. So you're not holding back. You know, you find people who are like, I don't want to talk because I'm scared that when I open my mouth, I'll be saying, maybe I will not make sense.
Make a lot of sense.
Do you understand? But then if you know your topic, you know what it is you want to talk about, and you know the right words to use per time.
And this is actually one of the major reasons why it's important that you as an elegant person develops a very rich vocabulary. And again, she's going to share with us some tips on how we can develop our vocabulary. But do you have any other importance apart from what you have just mentioned now?
Having a rich vocabulary also helps you to make a good impression. And then it gives you that outstanding factor. Like, you have a pool of people. Okay, what makes you stand out? Yes, you're looking for somebody to maybe represent your organization at this pitch or this event. They're just like, this person, I'm going to go with this person because we know that he or she can articulately communicate the purpose of this business.
So pretty much having a rich vocabulary just helps you thrive through life, even bringing it home to the family unit when you're talking to your children, addressing your husband. It just helps you have rich words. It's important that you have the right words, the right tone to communicate whatever it is that you are communicating as a person. Trust me, it gets you what you want faster than someone who doesn't know how to communicate. And one thing I know I've seen happen with people who do not know how to communicate is that because they are not able to communicate whatever it is that they want or express themselves in an articulate manner, they're often left behind. Or it feels like no one pays attention to them or feels like no one cares because no one really cares, but you are not expressing yourself to us in a way that we probably understand exactly how you feel. So pretty much what we're just trying to communicate with this point is it's important that everyone, whether you are elegant or not, everyone should have a rich vocabulary.
Yes.
And guess what? It's actually not difficult to develop your word bank or to develop your vocabulary. It's one of the easiest things ever. And it starts with you creating a consciousness or an awareness and actually wanting it. Once you want it, it's easy. Now, Derry is going to talk us through give us some tips on how we can improve our vocabulary and also learning to pronounce things correctly. So please give us some tips on how we can improve our vocabulary.
Okay. So the first tip would be to read wide. That is the first tip.
Number one on the tops.
Yeah. Read wide. The more materials that you expose yourself to, the higher your chances of coming across a lot of words, really. From articles, blog posts, and so on and so forth.
Inspirational books, motivational books.
Yes. So you find a strange word, you take note of it. It might even be that you're driving past and you find a word on a billboard. On a billboard, you take note of it. On an ad or on TV, you take note of it.
So it's not, I think it goes beyond just taking note of it. Now taking it a step further to find out what does this word mean? And then how can I use it in a sentence? So definitely the first tip is learning.
Yeah, read wide, consume media. Then consume media with intent. Yeah, so when I say consume media with intent, I mean you're watching a movie with the intention of learning, not just for entertainment. You're not just consuming for entertainment. Let me give you a quick example. So growing up, I always wanted to become a broadcaster. And having observed all of the broadcasters that I looked up to, I realized that they all spoke well without the native interference from our accents here. They spoke clearly. You couldn't tell if they were Yoruba or Isha or Igbo, whoever, or from whatever tribe. Yeah. So I said, okay, to do this, I need to learn to correctly pronounce my words. So whenever I heard any seemingly strange pronunciation, I'm like, wow. So it's not stipend, it's stipend. I actually learned the correct pronunciation of that word from watching
the news.
Yes, from watching the news, really. So I heard her say stipend. I'm like, oh, okay. So, and that was how I learned that. So not just stipend, I have from stipend, interesting, story, news story, not news story. Yes, news story. So you have words, you have basic, you have breakfast, you have words like that. I'm telling you from just watching the news. President, not president, like words like that. And I always had
write down.
Yes, I had my pen and paper. The same method works for vocabulary development.
Speaking of media, I think I was telling you this before we came on the set. I was saying to her that how whenever I'm watching a movie, I'm watching a movie with the intention of learning how to. I'm listening to them pronounce their words. So my friends, family are probably watching for fun. I'm watching deliberately and with intention to learn new words, learn how to pronounce new words. And I think that that's another way that you can improve your vocabulary. So we've mentioned reading books, exposing yourselves to the right media. What else?
Yeah. You also want to, so when you look up those words in the dictionary and the context and examples and all, you also want to look out for their synonyms. You want to look out for the synonyms of those words so that you're not always saying, oh, I'm happy. Because there can be degrees to happiness even. So you can just be happy. Oh, I'm happy. But then you can be elated.
I have one. I'm exuberant with joy.
Do you understand? There are different words. There are different words to express yourself. So you want to look out for the synonyms of those words. It's like anger. So there's anger. Anger is just, okay,
basic.
Do you understand? I am livid.
I'm frustrated.
Do you understand? I am exasperated. That is like the elder brother of
Girl, no, I'm actually extra motivated. It's like saying, oh, I'm cold. No, why not say I'm chilly?
Do you understand?
So let me tell you something. I think this brings us back to the first point you made on the importance. And when you said it makes you just stand out, people just stop and listen. When you imagine you come and you're trying to express yourself, and these are people expecting you to say, I am angry. You'd be like, I'm so livid. People literally would turn and, what did she just say? So any more tips on how we can improve?
Yeah, finally, practice.
Okay, practice.
And finally, use idioms.
What are idioms?
Okay, so idioms are figurative expressions.
Okay.
They're like proverbs.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're figurative expressions that add color and spice to speech. Do you understand?
Okay.
So you want to say something like, don't take on much more work. Winnie, don't take on much more work than you can handle.
Okay.
You can say that. That's the basic way. But then you can also say, Winnie, don't bite more than you can chew.
I totally get that. That also makes you stand out.
Do you understand? It's a different, you're saying the same thing.
Okay, so that totally makes a lot of sense. And of course, I think that would also come to you naturally when you read, because reading doesn't just help you improve your vocabulary. What reading does, it would help you structure your words correctly. It would literally teach you like English structure.
True.
It would teach you how to use your punctuation marks correctly.
Grammar.
It would teach you your grammar. It would teach you where to use your paragraphs. Guys, please.
Absolutely.
Reading doesn't just give you knowledge and information. It also literally helps you with your language structure.
And even in writing.
It
also impacts on your writing.
Yes, it impacts on your writing big time.
Yeah.
I know when I can tell a person who reads from how they write. I literally can tell a person who reads from how they write. And when someone writes and they cluster and cluster all of their words together, I know that person doesn't read. When a person reads, they are able to
arrange the flow of thoughts.
So it's important that you read, expose yourself to the right media. You said practice.
Yes.
And she also talked about using synonyms and then idioms. And then have tools like a dictionary.
A dictionary, yes.
Have the internet to help you. And again, the most important thing is that you have to be very conscious and aware of these things and be willing to take on the responsibility of actually not just putting it to use, but developing your vocabulary, because it starts with you. And let me tell you something, it helps you stand out. I'm able to stand out in my work, not just as an elegance coach, but also as a culinary expert, because I'm able to express myself correctly. I have a show on DSTV, and one of the reasons that I got that show, because I had to audition for that show with people. And one of the reasons I got that show was because of how eloquent I could speak. And then of course, apart from speaking eloquently, the way my mannerisms when I was presenting. So that was what got me that show. And this was feedback that I got from the producers of the show after I was done filming the show. So it's important. It gets you in the door. It helps you stand out. Trust me, you would have more advantage and better opportunities come to you when you know how to speak correctly, how to speak eloquently, and how to express yourself in a very articulate manner. Damien, you are the absolute best. But before I wrap up this episode, I would like you to share with us just a few words that we can add. I've added one to my bank already. When she talked about anger, and she's like, I'm exasperated. Did I pronounce that correctly, girl?
Exasperated.
Yes. Guys, I'm livid.
Furious.
No. Can you give me another one for happy? Because I'm happy.
Okay. So
we're happy people here.
Okay. Actually, we're not angry birds.
Happy.
Okay. You're elated.
Ooh, child, I'm elated.
You're on top of the world.
Girl. Right now, after this, I'm on top of the world. Because I'm about to go on top of that world and speak all the words that I know that would help me stand out. So, okay, I think let's bring it home, right? So let's do every day. So someone says, oh, Jamie, how are you? Instead of saying, I'm fine. What do you say?
I'm fabulous.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Someone says, oh, thank you so much, Jamie. What do you say? Instead of saying, you're welcome.
You're welcome. You can say, it's my pleasure.
My absolute pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. Or pleasure.
So I'll give you an instance. So somebody maybe leaves a comment on my post to say, oh, I learned something new. Thank you for sharing. Instead of saying you're welcome, most of the time I say it's my pleasure to share.
Pleasure.
It's my pleasure to share.
Or I also say something like, I'm glad you found this helpful.
Helpful.
So you don't necessarily have to say you are welcome. I'm glad you found this helpful. I'm glad I could be of help
honestly
to you.
Those are perfect.
That's a beautiful one.
Remember, we're moving from basic, boring, and all to.
I think that this episode has been very interesting. These are very limited words that we've shared. Again, it's really up to you to improve your word bank and, of course, be on your way to developing your vocabulary.
Yeah.
So, but Demi, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Same, yeah.
You guys, I know this episode is quite long, but I know it's definitely going to be worth it.
Yes,
it's really rich. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you definitely come again.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you guys, if you want to learn more words, improve your vocabulary, one way you can do it is just follow her on all of her social media platforms. It is Diction with Dairy. She's on Instagram, YouTube,
and you can find me on TikTok as well, and LinkedIn. Ademisola Adeyemi, yeah.
Diction with Dairy. I'm going to put the links in the description box down below. I hope we have all learned a thing or two. If you have a rich word that you know that you want us elegant people to add to our word bank, please kindly leave a comment in the comment section below, and let's continue this conversation from there. And then, of course, if you probably learned anything new or whatever was the highlight for you for today's episode, please also let us know in the comments so that we know that we're able to communicate to you all effectively. That's all that we have for you for today's episode. We'll see you again, or I will see you again with another episode. Until then, remember to stay very elegant. Take care, guys.
Bye.